The wonderful thing about triggers is triggers a wonderful thing.
Oh my God. As you can tell, Kaylee likes poo.
Winnie the Pooh, to be
Winnie the
exact.
Pooh. Oh yeah. Actually, didn't I get this for your baptism?
Oh my God,
Ooh.
yes he did.
There's another trigger for you. We're running around drinking tea out of our triggers. Bottoms up.
Cheers.
We're back with our cups of tea. English tea, chamomile or chamomile, however you say it, depending on what side of the pond you're on. And we're talking about, sorry.
Plain old normal tea for me.
Kaylee's very English. She's drinking English tea. So we'll have to throw her into the river.
Excuse me.
And have a Boston tea party. Or it wasn't a river, was it? It was a river, or was it the pier, or the inlet, or who knows?
Let's not test Paddy's general knowledge.
No,
Not today.
Don't do that. What knowledge, Paddy? You're hilarious. But today we're going to talk about triggers, specifically triggers pertaining to the cult or leaving the cult.
Triggers are a funny thing, aren't they?
They are
catch
indeed.
you unawares sometimes.
We have quite a few of them, and sometimes they crop up in language and you don't expect them, and suddenly it's like, oh, I remember that word. It's been a long time since I've used that thing.
Yeah.
And it just brings back memories, sometimes they're very pleasant memories, and we've had a few recently that we've been laughing about, so we thought we would share them with you guys.
Yeah, I think that the first one that comes to mind is usually blessed. I mean, we live in Ireland, and any opportunity for an Irish man or woman to say bless you or bless, that's a thing. So that's a lot of triggers when you add those up.
Yeah, people use it as like a blessing, but also like if you sneeze, God bless you, or they use it as a bit of a greeting, or just a general term like,
Or if
bless
something,
you.
yeah, that's it. If something's sweet, it's bless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get that one a lot, and sometimes you see it online as well, sending our blessings or whatnot, and you're like, oh, even though it's a nice thing and people are wishing you well, it's just that trigger.
It is a trigger, but at the same time, I use the phrase a lot to untrigger myself, or trigger myself as the case may be, but I make an effort to say blessed or bless you, or I figure the more times I say it, the less likely I am to be triggered by it, but
Yeah.
as of yet I'm not sure it's worked.
Love blessing. So may Jehovah bless you and your family for all eternity.
You stop. Oh my God.
Trigger warning. Sorry, forgot the trigger warning. Conventions.
Convention's a good one.
Yeah. There's a funny thing about us and conventions.
Yeah, well, you go on.
Well, we do conventions for work. So we attend conventions to sell things at booths because we create games and novels and things like that. So it's part of our profession and our business. So when we talk about conventions, people are like, what conventions are you attending this year? And you're like, what do you mean? Oh, you mean those conventions? Okay, I can breathe now.
I find it easier to refer to them as cons, which is
Yeah.
what most of them are referred to as. But
Yeah.
yeah, occasionally a convention, the full word convention will slip in, and I'm like, what convention?
Cons and conferences is definitely preferable, but people do
Yeah.
sometimes use the word conventions, and we slip into it as well sometimes. And sometimes even words about assembling, assemblies at school and whatnot. That's another one. But thankfully we don't have to attend those dastardly conventions anymore.
No.
You had a dream about a
I
convention
did have a
recently.
dream about a convention actually last night. I dreamt, oh, here we go. Well, may as well now have started. I had a dream last night that I was at a convention, just me, and I found my dad in the crowd. My dad out, but anyway. And I went up to him and I was trying to say hi, Dad, and I was invisible, he couldn't see me. So then I realized I was late. I'm supposed to be doing a demonstration on the platform, didn't know where I was going, managed to get up there, and then we didn't have microphones, and it was very strange. And when I got on the platform, it was like a stage, and everything else was black except the front row of people all just staring at you. And then I woke up, so.
Wow. So I have a few things to say about that. I think number one,
I bet you do.
the fact that you were invisible is deeply rooted in the whole shunning thing. So, people treat you as an invisible person. You don't exist. You're dead to them.
No
so
shit, Sherlock.
there's that. well, there's people watching this and they don't know, who Jehovah's Witnesses are, and people who are
That's
just
true.
interested in general. So another one is the front row. So you had the front row were the only people you could see, and it was like that was judgment, like they were, casting judgment upon you.
Well, that's a very interesting
Because we all know
tear apart.
how judgmental people can be in the cult, and I mean, we were also judgmental in a lot of ways, and sometimes we battle with that even now. A subject
Yes.
for another video. This time we're talking about triggers. So what about fading versus disassociating? So for those of you who don't know, we disassociated a number of years ago. So that's just like cutting yourself off. We are not considered apostates, and it's a very sort of definitive chop and distancing from the organization.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Whereas fading is more of a gradual, it's more subtle act, right, over time.
Yeah.
And people who fade versus people who disassociate lead kind of different lives post-cult in some ways. And that can lead to some triggering things for us. I mean, do you
Yeah.
want to share some of that?
That's a good point, actually. I think I am definitely still triggered if we are with people who have faded versus disassociated, and then they bring up people that you may know or things happening within the Watchtower organization, and it's like a punch or a stab in the gut. So yeah, that's a big trigger.
And it's not that people do this intentionally. They're talking about someone we used to know or someone we were friends with, and they happen to see them, and because they faded, they can still communicate with them, and they catch you up on their lives and whatnot. And it's nice because they're just being enthusiastic and interested, and they want you to know. But I don't think they realize that it can be triggering, and it's like the whole point in disassociating was to put that all behind us, right? So when someone takes your past from behind you and throws it in front of you, that can be a bit challenging.
Yeah, especially when it's people that you particularly cared about. And it doesn't stop us from having those conversations. It just means we go away after those conversations. I may have a cry, as you do, or need to take some time just to process and then carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of, because especially when you have people, you have fond memories of them, like your good friends, sometimes family. And speaking of memories, that's another trigger, really. Like when you're flicking through old photographs, even on Facebook, it shows you memories like from 7 to 10 years ago or whatever. And you're like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
there's that person again. That was my best friend, or that was my sister or uncle or aunt or whatever, right?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I didn't think about Facebook. I had one of those the other day, but
Yeah, so there's a lot to be said for the cult
Yeah.
doing a number on you when it comes to all those things.
do you have any triggers in particular that catch you out on occasion? Let us know.
Yeah,
I'd be interested to hear.
tell us.
Because I really thought that at this point, 5 years on, that I don't know, that they'd be less, or that I wouldn't be hurt as much by them, but I guess they're still there.
I'm definitely not as triggered as much as I used to be,
No.
but every now and then I'm caught unawares. But there are so many words in language like apostate. I remember someone said apostate in connection with like the Muslim faith and how they're treated when they leave their faith, and it made me, oh, apostate. They use that word too. Or contribution, right, which is just a word that is used in daily life, and I don't have any problems with contributing to things, but just the word contribution, it's like, oh, contributing to the Watchtower organization. So yeah, as Kaylee said, if you got any words, what triggers you? Let us know in the comments.
Until next time.